welcome to the fourth video in the Google Classroom tutorial series. Today, we'll see how to create quiz assignments. So, first navigate to the Classwork tab. Click on Create button and Quiz Assignment. Give a title to your quiz. Of course, you can give instructions, but that is completely optional. Now you see that a blank quiz in Google Forms has been created for you. There are a few settings which have been enabled to convert this Google form into a quiz. Or else Google Forms can also be used for surveys or information collection, which are not quizzes. In case you want to navigate to Google Forms directly, you can type Google Forms in the search bar and go into Google Forms. Google Forms allow you to create and edit a variety of forms, either from scratch or by using a template. We'll, however, create a new form. The Google Forms offer a variety of questions for you to choose from. The type of question you use will depend on what kind of answers you're looking to get with your form. Short answer questions can be used for input like name, class, section, phone number, email address, etc. You can use paragraph type questions when you wish to get long answers from your respondents, such as feedback on how you felt the test to be. There are even multiple choice questions. You also have checkbox questions. The difference between multiple choice and checkboxes is multiple choice can have only one answer to a question, whereas checkboxes is used when there are multiple answers. You can let them choose from a list using drop down. You can also use linear scale when you want to rate your question. You can choose multiple choice grid wherein you want them to choose one answer in each row. You can also use checkbox grid when you want them to choose multiple answers in each row. Of course, you have date and time as well. First, we need to assign a name to our form. Also, not just give a title to your form, but also remember to save it by the same name here, so that it makes it easy for you to find it again. You can also save it in your folder because finding it in the drive will be really difficult. So we'll make a new folder which is called as math and say move here. So your test is now saved in the folder called math in your drive. You can also star mark it in case you want to. The form description is the place where you can give general instructions. In case you are conducting a survey, then this place can express why you are conducting this survey and what is the purpose, what conclusion you would draw, etc. In case you are conducting a test, you can simply write what are the type of questions included in the paper and how many marks is each question, and if there's negative marking in the paper, what is the time limit that you're giving for the paper, etc. Like the general instructions are included in this form description. When you look at this toolbar beside the question, the first option is add a question. The second option is import questions in case you want to get questions from some of your previous tests. The next one is add title and description. This one helps you out in case you want to enter certain instructions for the coming set of questions, or it is also helpful in case of languages wherein comprehensions or passages need to be entered. Add image, add videos and create sections. This last option of creating sections is really helpful in case you want to divide the survey or the paper you are conducting into different sections. We'll see the effective use of creating sections further in this video. Now, since I don't require this title here, I can simply delete it. But something that I want to show you is you can move your questions the way you could move your assignments in Google Classroom. Also, you have this duplicate button here, you have delete, and you have these three dots wherein you have show description, or you can even avoid showing description and simply give a title. So right now I don't require this and I will delete it. Before creating questions, this is the option that lets you customize your form and make it attractive in a way you want. This I button gives you a preview of the form. When you click on this, how the form will appear to the respondent is seen. And let's go to settings. Now these are some general settings wherein collect email addresses, limit to one response, edit after submit, see summary charts and test responses, etc. Now, if you are doing a simple survey, what kind of settings you want to set is completely up to you. But whenever you are taking a test, I would recommend that you should always collect email addresses. You should limit it to one response because you don't want any of your student to appear the paper more than once. Never let your students edit the test after submitting. So never click on this checkbox. Going on to the presentation tab, if you want the progress bar to be seen, you can click on this checkbox. You can also shuffle the question order. But again, if you are clicking on this option of shuffling the question order, you will have to create sections in the paper. Why? I tell you. The name and the class that the child will enter are also two questions of the paper, although they are unmarked, ungraded. When you click on shuffle order, name and class can also be shuffled, and this completely destroys the look of the test because name and class always need to be there at the first. And that is why we create two sections in the paper, wherein the first section will have the general details of the child and the second section will have the questions. Show link to submit another response. This has already been turned into grayscale because we ticked on the limit to one response checkbox. In case we don't limit it to one response, we can show the link to submit another response. But again, since we are creating a test, we don't need this. Going on to the third tab, quizzes. Now, whenever you open Google Forms through the quiz assignments of Classroom, these settings are already enabled. That is, the form is already converted into a quiz. But here, since we have started from scratch, we have to enable it. Once you enable it, you can choose if you want to release the score immediately after the child has submitted the paper or later after manual review by you. In case you select the second option, this turns on the email collection because once the child submits the paper, the score will not be visible to him or her. And after manual review by you, you can release the scores and the emails will reach the respective children. You can also select if you want your students to see what are the questions they have missed, what are the correct answers to all the questions, and what are the marks assigned to each question. But this is not of much use when you put this option into place. Click on save and we're good to go. Now let's put the questions. So the first question will usually be name of the student, and hence I'll choose a short answer question. Name of the student. Now when you go to these three dots, you have this option of response validation. Response validation allows you to let students only enter a particular type of answer. When you select response validation, you can say only text should be entered here. Students cannot enter any kind of number, they'll only be allowed to enter text in this field. And again, make this a required field because name is always required unless they cannot be identified. Next, going on to this answer key section, we are not going to put any answer key in this question because name of the student cannot be a fixed answer, nor it has any points. Now let's go to the next question. So I add a question. So for entering class, it is always preferred that you use multiple choice or drop down questions because in case you choose short answer questions, the students might enter their class in different forms. Like for example, if I have to enter 1A, the student might enter 1 in Roman numerals, they might enter 1 in numbers. Again, A can be entered in capitals, small. And if this happens, then conditional formatting cannot be applied to this and you cannot sort the responses once you transport them into a spreadsheet. So it is always advisable that you use multiple choice questions. You can also use drop down for this, which is a very good option for class, and you can give options as 1A, 1B, and 1C, and how many ever you want to add. Again, make this a required field and don't assign any points to this question because this is ungraded. Now let's go on to adding the paper. In case you want, you can create two sections here. Let's see how you can do that. So we'll add a section. So this was the first section wherein the basic details will be asked. And now this is the second section, which is the paper. Again, give it the title of Math Test 1. Description is up to you, whatever you wish to enter. And now add questions. So the first question is a multiple choice question, of course. Now at times Google might use its own libraries and convert these questions, but you can change them back to multiple choice. So the options are, now let's go to the answer key section. So here at the top you can assign points to the question. For example, 5 points. You can assign any number of points to each question and choose the correct answer. So this is the way this has to be done. Then you say add answer feedback. In case the answer is incorrect, what feedback do you want students to see? And in case it's correct, what feedback do you want the students to see? Adding an answer feedback is completely optional. It's not required at all. In case I am just writing, you can give an explanation as well, up to you. And it's just save it. So your work is done here and this question is made. One thing again is you should not enable the required field here because it is not necessary for the child to attempt all the questions, right? It is necessary for the child to give his name and class. That is why we turn the required field over there. But this time it is not required for the child to completely attempt the paper. But it's up to you, your wish as well. Now I say duplicate. So I don't need to change the settings again and again. In case the feedback has to be one and the same for each question, like I did read your book and well done, then you can simply duplicate the question, or else you can start over by adding a new question. Now I say Roman numeral for 100, for example. I go to the answer key and I'll change the answer and I'm done. So I've added two questions to this paper. I have made two sections in this paper. So now let's go and take a preview of this paper. So this is how your students are going to see the paper. They'll have to enter their email address. They'll have to enter name, and they'll enter the class. And then when they click on next, this is your paper. And when they select the answers, click on submit, and the paper is submitted. Once they have submitted the paper, it will appear to you in the responses. Once all your students have appeared the paper, you can click on this button to create a spreadsheet of the responses. Once you create a spreadsheet of your responses, you can sort the responses alphabetically or according to the class list. All that will be covered separately under the Google Sheets topic, and we'll have a separate video. Clicking on these three dots, you can also download the responses, print all the responses, delete all the responses, get email notification for new responses, and etc. Since we selected the option of releasing scores after manual review, you will have this option. When you click on this, you can send emails and the scores will reach the students. You can also change the settings to immediately after submission in case you want the students to view their score immediately. This, when enabled, the form will accept responses. In case you have disabled this, the form will not accept responses and this message will be shown instead to them. This can be done by the computer also using a feature called as add-ons in the Google form. In this video, we're not covering add-ons. There is a separate video for add-ons. You can go and check it in the playlist. Right now, what we are doing is we are going to schedule this in the class. So these are my classes. I go to grade 1A. I go to classwork. And as you remember, I was creating this maths test 1. I'll go on this and I'll say edit assignment. Now since there was a blank quiz that had already been created here, I haven't used it. You can directly click on this and also navigate to Google Forms and create your test, not a problem. But since I started from scratch directly in Google Forms, so I can remove this. I'll go to Google Forms and I click on the send button. Here I will get this link. I'll say shorten URL and I'll copy this link. I'll go to my class and say add link and I will paste this link. So my link to the paper has come. Now I can assign it to students, give it points, 10 points. I can add a due date. Now for example, I want my paper to appear in the classroom at 10 a.m. tomorrow and I have given my students time up till 11:30 a.m. wherein they can write the paper at their own convenience. So due date has to be 11:30 a.m. Tomorrow's date and time has to be 11:30 a.m. I'll put it into a topic, chapter 1 for example, or else you can create a separate topic of tests. Rubrics will also be covered in a separate video, so you can go and check out in the playlist. Now when I go to schedule, I will write tomorrow and I wanted the paper to appear at 10 a.m. So you can put 10 a.m. directly, but I will always recommend that you put 9:55 a.m. as I already spoke to you that it takes 3 to 4 minutes for the Google processor to schedule and post it. So in case you don't want students to create panic that the paper hasn't come and it's already 10, then you should schedule it for 9:55 and say schedule. So your paper has been scheduled for tomorrow 9:55 a.m. and it is open till 11:30. Students need to appear the paper till 11:30. In the Google Forms, once it's 11:30, you can manually disable accepting responses or else go to the next video and check out add-ons wherein this can be done by the computer as well. Again, coming to the classroom, in case you have to schedule the same paper in another class, Go to that class and go to classwork, click on create and reuse post. Maths test 1, reuse. You will have to put the due date again and do the scheduling again, and your work is done. So it's done. So thank you for watching this video. I'll meet you in the next video wherein we'll learn add-ons, and of course we also have a video coming up on rubrics. So please like, share and subscribe to the channel.